This is a YouTube reading, so it is public.
Oh, okay. Hello, everybody.
I assume you knew that.
Yes, he
That
filled me in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so let me put my glasses on and share the screen. Can you see this?
Yes, very colorful. I like it.
Yeah, let me just take a note. You start at 8 and you go to 29 and then you go to 14. Okay, so let's see. Gate 8 is here in Taurus, and that is your prenatal sun. And then by the time you were born, the sun had moved to the 29th hexagram. And by the time you were 3 months old, it had moved all the way to the 14th hexagram. And I show you that because it shows that from the prenatal to the postnatal, 3 months, you've the all the transits for half the wheel have been imprinted into your aura. At the same time, the earth has been transiting. So by the time a baby is 3 months old, every astrological energy has been imprinted into their aura. And so this wheel is the synthesis that Ross said he was using of the tree of life at the center and chakras, astrology around the wheel, and we take the astrology degree and correlate with the hexagram and line of the I Ching. And so, as a developmental psychologist, and when I was given the human design by Ra and the prenatal lunar design, which he said was the sleep dream design, I began because I had kittens and I had twin kittens. I knew that there needed to be another calculation. There was a missing calculation that would show how mammals sleep and dream. Ra did not know sleep architecture and the different levels of consciousness. So, using twin kittens, I was able to get the differentiating moon on my twin kittens, one of whom died at age 10 of cardiomyopathy and the other lived to 18. So I did some additional calculation. I'm a developmental psychologist, and my PhD is from University of Chicago in the four worlds: sociology, anthropology, biology, and psychology.
Hmm.
Then my postdoc was as a psychologist, and I got licensed, and I've worked with them. So we have here in my layout the mental world 3 months before birth, the spiritual world a week before birth corresponds to when the baby drops into the birth canal. 2 days before is the emotional matrix, and it's a solar minute. It is a 33 gate matrix, and I put the matrices here at the end for you to see.
Wow.
So you'll notice that only the mental world and the physical biological world have a solar plexus. And so as I am working with the 8 charts, right, let me make it bigger again. I think I can do this 125. So there's the mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. And then as a developmentalist, I knew that the pediatric literature says a baby is not a baby, they're a neonate until 3 months of age when they have volition. So I, for the hell of it, did the calculations for the postnatal. And when I saw them for the first time, I went, this explains it. In a case like yours, Jeff, where you have the sacral center activated between the 5:15 and then you lose it, and then you gain it again.
Hmm.
You're someone who I would say you go to sleep thinking you know what you want to do the next day, and you wake up in the morning and you say, what was I thinking? And somebody who has the opposite would go to sleep not knowing and wake up knowing. And I saw that clinically right away when Ra gave me the dream design, which he thought was a garbage throwaway. And I was sitting with two clients in my yard, one of whom had a defined sacral and lost it, and the other who had an undefined sacral and gained it. And so I started collecting clinical data.
Hmm.
And in your case, in human design, you would be told that you were a generator. And I use Chiron. Now, Chiron stays in the 37th hexagram in all of your designs
Hmm.
and activates you emotionally. However, you do have the 59, gate 59, which comes in, it's black. You can see in my charts, I add the astrology signs
Hmm.
and the planet. So the 37 is your Jupiter along with Chiron. So it never goes away. And Pisces is very open. So you may pick up or be sensitive to the emotional energy of the people around you. And
Hmm.
you may feel spiritually, this is the postnatal lunar, where you actually get the sixth hexagram
Hmm.
with Mercury in Virgo. And it tells me that on a spiritual level, you look to help people transform their emotional reactions
Hmm.
into a spiritual understanding, or what I would say, creative intelligence.
Uh-huh.
Creative intelligence is not mental intelligence. It comes from the solar minute emotional angelic design. Um, it's also interesting that postnatally, you get the crown to the ajna. So let's look at your composite. Your composite is how you actually function. And what I found is that 99% of the population function as manifesting generators.
Hmm.
Let me just make sure. I want to make sure. Did it tell you that we're recording?
Yes.
Okay. Um,
It says this meeting is being recorded.
Good. Okay. So when I look at your composite, there's one thing that really jumps out, the undefined splenic center.
Mhm.
And while you have four gates activated in the splenic center, it doesn't ever get defined. I would say, Jeff, that you're a empath,
Oh,
very intuitive, um, picking up what people feel,
oh,
and sometimes feeling contaminated by it.
yeah.
Um, You are a split definition manifesting generator. One of the key ways that you can rebalance from your sensitivity is by paying a lot of attention to your breathing.
Hmm.
Uh, it is likely, I'm trying to think how I want to say this to you. I think from a practical standpoint, rather than a theoretical standpoint, I think you're someone who needs to meditate first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I do. I just finished.
Good. What kind of meditation do you do? Anything specific?
Well, I've been trained in Zen meditation back 20 years ago. So I practice in, I practice the discipline of following the breath, you know, releasing, thoughts or whatever. My meditations have gotten really, really deep recently. I studied,
Let me
yeah,
look at
yeah,
you here.
yeah.
Oh,
To the
oh, there
point,
you
yeah, I'm able to really drop pretty deep, and usually I can go for sometimes up to 2 hours.
go. Um, well, here it is. Uh, Pluto just moved into Aquarius. So it's activating your fourth house cusp, which you had Saturn and the South Node. So probably some parenting that undermined your sense of confidence.
Hmm.
Uh, but with the Pluto coming into Aquarius, um, a lot of stuff that was old is going to clear.
Yeah, I just came off of 2 weeks working with some plant medicine down in Brazil, and I had a lot of clearing. Ma
Excellent.
Massive.
Well, the Scorpio Ascendant, I have a 3-degree moon in Scorpio. My mentor astrologer, Catherine de Jersey, said to me, well, dear, you feel things very intensively, and not everybody is going to understand the depth of which you feel.
Mhm.
So I can say the same thing to you. Now, you have Neptune in Scorpio, which makes you at times doubt what it is the depth of your feeling is,
Right.
especially if you're picking stuff up from other people.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'll get back to this. Um, so you have both the 12th hexagram and the 4521. And the 4521 is also hooked up to the 1-8, the 731, the 15-5, and then the transforming of the heart center, which so it could go either way. It goes through the solar plexus, which could make you emotional, or
Mm.
it goes through the heart center and you use your breathing to tell you if it's you or not you.
Oh, interesting.
So that's why I say it's really important for you to meditate first thing in the morning because that's the only time during the day. Are you in a relationship?
Not right now.
Okay, so you don't have somebody sleeping in the bed with you.
No, and and I've already I was divorced 6 years ago. I've had a few relationships here and there, and I won't sleep in the same bed.
Um, Let me say, if you met the right person, Jeff, you might change your mind.
Oh, okay.
Um, my husband and I tried the experiment of sleeping in separate bedrooms. It didn't work for us.
Hmm.
We felt like the feeling of being with each other during the night and feeling each other's aura made us closer together than separate.
Interesting.
Um, we met in India at an ashram, at Osho's ashram. I was told to go by a voice. Marvin left his medical practice because he didn't want to do herd medicine. He wanted to spend time with people, and he's a healer. And he wasn't planning to come back from India. So we met, we've been together since the day we met. And our spiritual alignment is exact.
Mm,
So I think it's a personal choice. Stay open if you're going to get into other relationships to the possibility that you may feel differently,
mhm,
or whoever your partner is may feel differently.
mhm,
So I tend to be very flexible, and no two charts are ever the same, and I don't ever read them the same way.
mm,
Because in your case, for example, with an open splenic center, but such a strong manifesting generator chart, it's very important for you to know if you're using your energy or you've picked up somebody else's energy.
mhm,
And um, the easiest way for you to do that is to know who you are to start with in the course of a day.
mhm,
And then if you notice your breathing getting tight, you can be pretty certain it's either somebody putting stress on you
mm,
or you're picking up energy that doesn't belong to you.
mm,
And you may want to release it before you tune into what you want to do for yourself.
mm,
My husband has an open splenic center. I don't. I have the 58184816, and I kept saying to Ra, but Ra, I'm not a manifester. I'm not a manifester. And then when I got the multidimensional charts, of course, I'm a generator in the
mm,
lunar. So I would wait to know what I knew before I would act.
mm,
Now, in your case, you need to make sure your breathing is unstressed. For you, the first thing that's going to be the sign of you picking up energy is your breathing.
mm,
Now, the dilemma for you, Jeff, and in my book, Beyond Human Design, I have, I do it in my classes, but I'll show you. So I have images of the channel with its hexagram and astrological sign. So, for example, the 1222, well, let me pick one that's do the 25 for you. So, for example, if you look at the hexagrams for the 2551, no, wait, 2145, what am I saying? You'll notice that both 25 and 51 are in Aries, but the 51 is thunder over thunder. So it's a yang line and two yin lines, whereas the 25 is thunder with heaven over it.
mm,
And heaven is all yang. So if you think about how the energy comes in, both are Aries. The 25, which um, is Oh, I'm looking at I'm not looking at the right one. 45. I'm not looking at the right one. I wanted to look at the 2145. My brain had a glitch. Same thing. The 21 is thunder with fire over it, and the 45 is the earth with lake over it. So when you look at the hexagrams, look at how receptive and how yin and yang they are within the trigrams and the hexagrams themselves, and then meditate on them.
Hmm.
Because when you do that for your own chart, it's going to speak to you energetically,
Hmm.
especially with your open splenic center and an open crown to ajna, that when you ask in the 6124, what does it mean? Because you want to understand the mysteries of the universe.
Hmm.
And that is part of the driving force for you.
Hmm.
So when you look at the hexagrams, you're going to read the hexagrams energetically for the gate, not intellectually for the gate.
Hmm.
And that's going to be very beneficial for you
Hmm.
because you are an energetic being. You don't, if we go back to the designs, you can see that you have the sacral, the 515, and then you lose it, but you get the connection to the solar plexus. So
Hmm.
a lot of your life purpose has to do with transforming energy for other people.
Hmm.
What do you do, Jeff, for work?
Um, well, so it's a good question. So right now I mean, if I'm like retired, but I'm not retired. So right now I've been doing, I started about 10 years ago, I started a nonprofit called Earth-Based Recovery, where I take people into the wilderness and teach them about how to master the wild monkey mind, and basically to help embody an experience where people can open up to their, what I call the gem, or their creativity, or the force within them that can break a lot of the patterns, right? Because the mind, I start kind of with the education about how the mind works, and then in giving them experience with nature. Nature kind of has, I teach them how to have conversations with the natural world in order to open up whatever their particular gifts are. I'm currently writing a book called The Art of Letting Go to Glow.
Mhm.
And am attempting to do like a coaching program around that. I enrolled in the mastermind program with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins out of Phoenix, and I'm in that process right now, getting coaching and some mentoring around all this. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, but it's really, and I'm doing I do this art, which is, I paint these original paintings, and then if you turn the lights, like a black light, they change and then they glow in the dark at night.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
so I've been doing this glow art, and yeah, so yeah, yeah, it's from what I understand, nobody's ever painted like this before, and it's quite difficult because if you want to show it in a gallery, the lighting is important, and most galleries don't show at night. So anyway, it's yeah, it's a gift that came about 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Kind of on my journey, I opened up. I never knew I was an artist, but yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
So it shows in your chart because in the lunar, postnatal lunar, you become a transformer of emotional energy for people.
Uh-huh.
And what you're doing is you're opening up. when you go out in the wilderness, you're sensing what they need to transform emotionally without words.
Right. Yes, that's the whole thing. I don't really promise outcome. I just kind of lure people into the experience. And then every single time they go out on the land, they come back and they have their own kind of awakening.
And where do you live?
I live in Arizona,
Ah,
Prescott, Arizona, near Sedona. The work I do is down in Tucson in Aravaipa Canyon is one of the places that I go.
mm,
Yeah, so currently I have a client. So she just hired me to do a solo. Actually, I'm going to do a month worth of Zoom calls with her, and then we're going to go out for 5 days and do more like a vision fast. Like she's really going to do the deep dive.
mm, exciting. Um, so you are very energetically sensitive and you transform things for people. You have abilities as a leader and you're a good listener. The 1/8 is the art and the desire to create. And I did do the progress chart we can look at. Have you seen your progress chart?
No,
Oh, what does this give? Huh, this is strange. In a ring, secondary. This gave me a different 11:34. Is it AM? 34 AM. This is very strange. I should have the same ascendant. This is not something wrong here. Let me do this again. I don't know why I got a different chart. August 20th, 62, 11:34 AM.
right. This one says PM on the chart down below on the left-hand side. It says PM. At the top it says AM. That says AM, but the one down below said PM.
No, it says AM.
AM there, but then scroll down. Here it says 11:34 p.m.
Oh, bizarre.
in the
Okay.
bottom.
I could have missed it when I ran that. I'm going to take this one out. All right, let's get rid of this one. I'll just rerun it. It'll just take me a minute
Okay.
because this chart, no, this is bizarre. I'll share this with you. I don't know what the problem is. This is my Astro Gold program, and this says AM, but it's not the right chart. One of them is not right. I don't know which one it is. Mountain View, California.
Right.
Do you know what uh it's not San Bernardino, Kearns, Santa Clara?
I think it's San Mateo County. I'm not sure. It might. Um,
Well, Mountain View only gives me Kern or Santa Clara as the options.
yeah, it might be Santa Clara. Hold on. Mountain View.
San, Mountain View, Santa Clara?
It might be Santa Clara. Let me see.
See, that gives me,
Yeah, it's Santa Clara.
okay, so this one may have been, I'm going to use that one because that I think is right. And that would give you, oh, I need to go back to the other program. Hold on. I may have had a different um, zone, so it was probably right. And let's see if that's right, then I will, yeah, here's the chart. Put this one back, and then I will delete this one. And then I'll put this other one in. So I just have to get it into your thing. Let's see here. Uh,
So the difference between the manifesting generator and the generator is the manifesting generator is has more information as far as make it's not as dependent as waiting on the emotional wave, or does it have the same process as the generator?
Hold on 1 minute. Let me just move this in to your chart, and I'll answer your question. Here we go. Now we have the right chart. The manifesting, ask me your question again.
Yeah, so this the manifesting generator versus the generator as far as in the decision making process, as I've always thought I was a generator. I was kind of taught follow the emotional wave, take time to make decisions and all that.
I say to people, now you're a meditator. So the old rules for human design will not work for you.
Okay.
Um, you know what you know when you know it.
Well, that's kind of the way it's always been with me.
And well, because you know what you know. Most people, I was in a private practice for over 50 years. And in my view, every client who ever came to me, their main problem was nobody listened to their soul.
Hmm.
And so what I say to people is when you know what you know and nobody can tell you you don't know it, don't compromise. Now you have the 15-5 in your natal chart,
Hmm.
and you know what you know, and you knew it from the time you were born.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
then you lost it, but you got back all of it in the composite so that when you know what you know because you know it, you don't need to wait,
Hmm.
but you do need to wait to know what you know.
Hmm.
And I say to people, when you know what you know, you're not stubborn, you're not selfish, you're not pig-headed, all the labels that kids get called because
Hmm.
they stand for what they know is true for them, and the people around them want them to compromise.
Right.
So you're, uh, you don't need a human design strategy because you know what you know.
Hmm.
And as a meditator, you're not about to compromise what you know
Hmm.
unless you're pressured and then you're sorry. Okay, so we'll revise the reading on this. We have the same Now, 2 degrees of Aquarius on your fourth house cusp. You're doing a lot of inner work right now.
Yeah.
And you're delineating, I think you're trying to flesh out more detail about what you can be doing with other people to transform. I think there's some things that you're, um, let me look at the progress chart. You have a lot right now in Scorpio. Um, do you have a time projection for your book?
Um, well, let's just say I enrolled in this coaching program was about December, so I'm a couple months in, and I've I'm working on it, but I'm kind of all over the place actually with it. So it's an interesting question, like part of me says, well, do you want me to give you a date or like, but for some
Well, what I'm
reason,
seeing in your chart is that something happened a couple of months ago that activated possibly this writing project, but I don't see it coming to fruition for probably close to a year.
okay, yeah, that
And I
sounds
don't think a book needs to take that long. Um, I would recommend to you in your coaching program that you know what you know and you know what you want to write. And I wouldn't let an outside force derail you. I've already had 8 bestsellers,
wow.
and it's so easy. With the right people designing your book, and I in 2016 when I was writing my Cosmic Secrets and Astrology Essentials books, I found someone who was just a freelancer,
Yeah,
and um, she now has a publishing company, and
interesting.
she's just designed all my books with me. And so I can give her a book, and I wrote 13 books with Ra. So I'm currently having going back and publishing source material. And I just gave her a book to do 2 weeks ago that I took time to edit it, and it's transcripts that Ra and I had put together. And it'll be out, I think, within a month.
Wow.
So having
Well,
the right book
yeah, it's
people is
nice to have,
important.
yeah, it's nice to have that kind of closeness. This particular group I'm with, I don't really feel like, I don't really have like I published a book called The Bliss is in the Stumble. It's a book of poetry. I did it. There was a woman I met, Judith Hill. She was a poet. She stepped into it and really helped me move it forward. And it was nice having that kind of like connection with somebody. But this group is more, they're kind of like, well, they give you this website and you can go on, you can get like a process and that kind of thing. But it doesn't really feel like a relationship, if that makes any sense.
Right. Um, I'm more than happy to share my book people with you.
That'd be great. Yeah. I
I
mean,
have a book coach. I have a book designer. I have a book promoter who does, I own all my ISBN numbers and stuff, but once the book is finished, um, my book promoter will put it on Amazon and Apple and get it in Ingram and do the ISBN numbers in the Library of Congress and make sure that everything's in order.
okay. So according to the chart, though, you're saying that you don't see this book for maybe a year, but you're saying I could do it sooner.
Yeah. I see good aspect in your first house, which means that you're going to be well received. Um, Uranus, Pluto, Mercury is they're all hitting your Neptune in the first house. So you don't always know your power. And
Hmm.
this is going to give you more power to express yourself in the more esoteric ways you think. Not everybody's going to understand what you're talking about.
Well, that's pretty much been my journey.
Well, it's been all our journey of people who are conscious. I'm teaching classes on the four worlds because I'm following the tree of life, which is actually the model of individuation or self-actualization. And so what happens is most people, I can grab a, Bon, I'll grab a tree of life to show you. I'll just pull up, this is the one I've been working on. So I'll just pull this up. Oh no, this isn't it. This is, I think it's this. Nope, not that. Okay, let's see. Classes, 22nd path version. Well, let's go to the 23rd path because that one's finished.
It's really interesting this thing about this. I'm here to transform energy to help with bring forth creativity. That's really helpful because with this particular book I'm writing, I came up with the title, "The Art of Letting Go to Glow." And the
Mm.
idea is that my art glows, but if I figured out no matter how much art I do, it's really not it's never about the art. It's about the fact that it glows and that, was a process, a journey I went on to find this creative outlet. But it's, what's your glow, right? What's your creative call? And when you say not everybody's going to relate to that, I've already experienced that. Some people just, for whatever reason, they don't want to know
So let
that.
me show you the tree of life. Um, I'm going to share my document for the 23rd path of intelligence. Um, so I'm teaching classes on the four worlds because most people have not been brought up to recognize their spirit.
Hmm.
And so in the tree of life, I assume you can see it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I need to take a picture of that.
Um, me, it's let me make this bigger so you can see it better. Okay, so in the tree of life, when we go we start with the foundation, the sacral center, and we go to the four worlds: mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. But the lesson on the 32nd path of intelligence on the tree of life is that we are light bodies manifesting in physical form.
Hmm.
And so there are three channels coming in the body graph, and there's only one. If you go to the four world matrices, only the mental world and the physical world are in physical form. But the tree of life leaves that out. And then the 31st path, which in the body graph we have three channels, is the perpetual intelligence, which says we are in a physical body, but we are not physical beings.
Hmm.
And so the task is to know that we transcend time and space.
Hmm.
And each So if you look at go from beauty to kingdom and from splendor to victory, and you have the cross of Christ.
Oh, wow.
And if you look at the lower triangle, before you go to the paths of return, what you have is the splenic center and the solar plexus. And the task of the 27th path of intelligence is to break down all false beliefs and to know what's truth of the soul.
Mm.
And so I break it up this way as well with the tarot cards. And so I've been going through, I'm currently on the 22nd path, which is here, between beauty and severity, Geburah. And that's understanding. It's beginning to understand. And this rectangle in the middle is the lower mind, which is the 27th path, and the upper mind, which is going to be the 22nd, 21st. I don't know which path it is exactly, but it's there, the upper mind. So as we get to the upper part of the tree of life, there's not a one-on-one correspondence to the body graph.
Mm.
But because I know the tree of life, and I know, and I'll show you your chart again. Where's Jeffrey? There you are. So when I'm looking at the progressed chart, your progressed moon is in the 10th house, 19 degrees of Leo. 19 from 27, 8. I think from this chart, again, it's telling me that the book isn't ready yet. That what you're doing with it is you're working on it to know what it is you want it to say, but you don't yet know how people are going to receive it.
Right.
And you're trying to get the language such that they'll understand what you're talking about.
Right.
That's showing up here in your chart. Um, put some energy into the superconscious aspect of the value system that somebody must be connected to in order to be able to receive the information you're sharing.
Mm. Can you say that again?
Maybe. Um, I'm looking at your ninth house astrologically, and the fact that the solar arc progressed moon is 6 degrees of Cancer in your ninth house. The ninth house has to do with superconsciousness, values, ideas, integrity. And because it's the moon, and I see in the 10th and 11th house, as well as the 12th house, that you're looking for how to frame things in order for your audience to receive what it is you're telling them.
Right.
And I think if you meditate on the message and maybe some illustrations of it.
Mm.
Do you have artwork in the book?
It's interesting you're asking that. I'm actually thinking about adding art, putting some of
I
the art
think
in.
what's coming to me looking at your chart is that you need something nonverbal that will communicate the energy.
Hmm. It's very interesting because the art needs to be seen and experienced. It's very hard to replicate it. Um, People, when they sit and see the art, they have an emotional response to it. Whereas, that's true for most art, but this very particularly, the light needs to change in order for people to say, "Oh, wow."
Um, it may be that I wonder if you could sell your art with the right lighting.
Somebody recommended recently down in Brazil, this guy, he said that it would be good to have somebody sit in front of the art and have cameras on the art and have cameras on the person's actual emotional response to the art. That might be able to communicate more effectively online, the value of the particular art. Because if you just show the three pictures, it's kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. But it's
No, but I'm wondering if you, for example, in a book, like I remember reading books to my kids where we could scratch something and have a smell, or we could press something and get a light or a sound. And I'm
mm,
wondering if you could put your art in a book and I mean you could even have the instruction use your phone to light it.
mm,
But I think your art is how you're transforming the emotional energy.
mhm.
So when you're
So
writing about,
maybe the book needs to be more of an invitation for people to enter into the experience of art in order to help them transform their their emotional energy.
yes, but you're also taking them out in nature. So,
True. Well,
so
I could actually I actually have art involved in that process. I have a room set up where people, when they return, instead of sitting in a group and talking, they can go to the art room and do a painting.
uh, well, you have a unique niche, and it may be that your work has to be in workshops
Uh-huh.
where you can actually interface with people.
Right. Yeah, and this book really could be a invitation to that kind of a workshop,
Right. Yeah.
which is a little bit easier to write.
Right. Right. Much easier to write. So in your a
Hmm.
couple of other things, Jeff, before we stop. Um, you have a lot going up the central column. And when and a lot going on in the spiritual design.
Hmm.
So when I'm talking, and I can stop this. When I'm talking about spirit, I use clean language. Language such as, what do you know about this now? And what else do you know? And um, what would you like to have happen?
Are you asking me that?
No, I'm giving
Oh,
you clean questions.
yeah, clean questions. Yeah, what would you like to have happen? So these questions are good when approaching the book or when approaching the.
Well, in my work in the four worlds, there's mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical.
Right.
Most people want to be living in spirit.
Hmm.
That's where the joy comes.
Hmm.
Most people are living in the mental, emotional world.
Right. and
And
many
so,
tied up there. Yeah.
as a clinician, part of my journey was it started out, University of Chicago. I studied with all the best people. Carl Rogers came out of there. Tom Gordon came out of there. The best of the best. Kubler-Ross was in that department. And I realized with my kids that all of my education didn't teach me how to talk to a kid who's having a tantrum. So I started studying communication. I learned PT, organizational training. Then that didn't work for couples. So I became a sex therapist and started working with um, sex therapy. And then that didn't work. So then I studied Imago and Gottman. And, you name it, I studied it. Hypnosis. And each world has its own language.
Mm,
Spiritual world uses clean language, no visual, auditory, or kinesthetic cues. If we use any of the mental world cues, the person isn't going to be in their own core spirit. So I studied David Grove's clean language, which doesn't give you any input. What would you like to have happen? Fastest way to stop an argument. What would you like to have happen? Or if you have somebody out in nature, what do you know about your experience now?
mm,
And is there anything else? And is it inside or outside?
mm,
And whereabouts is it?
mm,
How old is this feeling?
mm,
So those questions do not give any input from outside.
It's beautiful. I'd like to maybe try that book, huh? David Groves.
Well, um, you can search for him. His ex-wife, Kai Davies Lynn, lives in England. Um, she did write one book of his work. He died at age 50.
Ah,
So, there's not a lot. I studied with Kai. I brought her to California for a couple of weeks and did workshops for my clients with her and learned clean language. Um,
interesting.
and there are a lot of people doing clean language, and it's not the real deal.
Right.
Um,
Well, it's
but
everything as far as I'm concerned. What these questions is kind of tell you when I go out to the wilderness, that's what it is. Share with me what your experience was, and then I'll mirror it.
right.
I kind of mirror that back. But this is even taking it even deeper.
Um, look for what you can find. There's probably a lot of books now written that are erroneous. If you can find the book that Kai Davies Lynn wrote, get that one. Don't study with the other people. If you can't find it, I'll see if I have a PDF to send you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but look for what you can find. Um, and
Because
uh,
I mean, what you're saying is absolutely true. It's like I'm meeting people in this mental, emotional world, and and I'm just mental. The mental thing that's the wild
it's
Bill
in the
Plotkin's
way.
work. Yeah, so Bill Plotkin's work, Wild Mind, Nature and the Human Soul. I don't know if you know of his work. You would blow you away. He mapped the human psyche. He teaches the voices that are inside the head.
What's his name?
Bill Plotkin, he's in his 80s now. He's taken people into the wilderness for years. Nature and the Human Soul is his wheel of human development that came out of his work in nature. And then Wild Mind, a field guide to the human psyche. Soulcraft, which is the book that went viral, and his organization is in Durango, Colorado. So I teach the wild mind basically through experience. I don't really, I mean, I
Uh-huh.
give the maps, but then I send people out to embody the voices that are in their head, which help them
Right.
fall
So if
more.
you can teach them clean language, it's much more powerful.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And actually, Kai would have people draw.
Hmm.
we gave them big sheets of paper and all kinds of colors to draw whatever
Oh,
they were experiencing.
perfect.
So anyhow, we need to stop.
Yeah, yeah.
But I hope this was helpful for you. I have an appointment I'm running to, so I
Okay.
will
Do you
get
do
this to you.
do you do private one-on-one sessions?
Absolutely.
You do? Okay, so I would just email you and then figure that out. But yeah, I'd like to explore some of this a little bit more with you at some point.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
My pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It's very,
Oh, you're
very
welcome. I'll send you the link to the recording later today.
great. And that thing that you had a document about the tree of life, is that a PDF file that you can send? Like that